Hello, everyone, and thanks for listening to the Quality Hub, chatting with ISO experts. I'm your host, Xavier Francis, and today we have two special guests from our software department, Brian Reich, Manager of Software Development, and Ann Siebert, Product Manager here at Core. Thank you both for being here today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Wonderful to have you as well. We're excited for this one. Now, over the past several months, we explored a range of ISO standards beyond the well-known ISO 9001. At Core Business Solutions, our ability to work with companies extends well beyond 9001. We support our customers with an array of ISO standards, cybersecurity, and other standards with consulting, training, and what we're here to talk about today, software, as we talk with Brian and Ann about our own core compliance platform and software as a service in general as well. But before we begin, could you both share with us a little about your experience and journeys? And we'll start with Ann.
Sure. I've been with Core for almost 7 years now. I started as a account manager and kind of moved through to the consulting department as a project manager. And that way I got to learn a bunch about the customers, helping the customers through their consulting program, and then moved to the software team as a business analyst. There I helped build requirements to develop the software and improve. And now I'm here as a product manager.
And that's great. And I think you and I have something in common where we both lived in Hawaii for a little bit.
That's right.
Yeah, that's beautiful over there. And how about you, Brian?
Well, I didn't live in Hawaii.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I've been with Core for a little over 4 years now. I started as a developer, and over the course of my tenure here, I transitioned into being a team lead, and then I took over management of the software department about a year and a half ago.
Great that you are both here. I know you have a lot of experience and expertise in regards to this. But let's get started, and we'll start with you, Brian. Why did CBS develop Core?
Yeah, well, something that's important to keep in mind here is that Ann and I haven't been here since the beginning. So some of what I'm going to tell you is me telling you the oral tradition that was told to me.
So we have the lore of Core.
Basically. So Core was developed because compliance is complex and expensive. Our founders knew that this was a hardship, particularly for small businesses. And they sought out a way to make compliance easier and more affordable for those kind of customers. So they developed a strategy for offering consulting supported by software that's capable of delivering documentation, training, and business process solutions. The result is basically a faster path to compliance. And because that optimizes consulting resources, it also results in a more cost-effective path to compliance for our customers.
Yes, I believe Mike Dawson actually was the one who originally developed Core. And that was like 15 or 20 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
And we're still making it work for customers that long from the beginning of it. So Brian, using Core as an example, what steps does one take when developing software as a service, in our case, the Core Compliance Platform?
Well, the first step is identifying the problem that you want to solve.
Okay.
So in our case, the fundamental problem is the cost and complexity of compliance, which puts a pretty big burden on small business customers. We started by solving that problem specifically for ISO 9001. That was the bread and butter of the company at the very beginning. But today we've got a repeatable model that delivers compliance for a number of management, health, safety, and cybersecurity standards. When you actually dig into compliance standards, they have a shared set of problems, and there's some problems that are unique to specific standards, and Core does its best to try and solve all of those.
So once you determine what all the problems are, what's next?
So before you can actually start developing software and writing code, you need to, well, we've already identified what the problems are, but then we need to start figuring out how to solve those problems. And that involves getting business analysts involved. Those folks are responsible for eliciting requirements from other people. They have conversations with subject matter experts, the folks that actually know the standards, for example, are consultants. They may have conversations with the customers themselves. And of course, they're going to involve the actual software developers because they've got the technical perspective on the right way to solve the problem as well. So if we want to speak specifically about Core, one of the first problems that needed to be solved was document control.
Yeah, and I think back when Core started, that the standard had a lot more about documentation than what the current one does. For
yeah, my understanding was that ISO 9001 was very heavy on making sure your documentation was current and correct at the very beginning.
And that would have been way back, even probably before the 2008 standard. I should say revision.
So document control was one of the first things that got built into Core. Our document control system helps you control your documentation, ensure that documents are being reviewed by the right people on the right time frame, and just generally making sure that your documentation system stays healthy. So as the company matured and the software matured and the landscape of compliance matured as well, there are other important features that have been added to Core to keep up with that. And we'll get into that later in the podcast.
Okay. So basically, looking at it from how development, what's the problems that we want to solve? Let's discuss with people who know the standards, know what the problems are even in more detail, and then determine how we're going to fix those problems via software.
That's right.
Now, I guess the next would be some applications that you have to build. And what are some of the applications that we've developed to fix some of those problems that we discovered?
Well, the core compliance platform has tons of features. Some are our main features, that being the document control system. And those features can be as simple or as sophisticated as you might need. So there's one aspect to our document control system where you can set up a periodic approval. And that will help once the document is released to give notifications of when that document might be up for another review. So say in a year or so, you want to make sure your documentation is current and up to date. And that will remind you to go and look to make sure that your documentation is current and up to date.
And that also gives you an option to look at revisions, correct?
That's right. So during that review process, you can make a revision instead of just saying, yep, the document is still current and we're going to approve it for another so often, whatever your timeline is. So at that point, if things have changed or problems become apparent that processes do need to change, that would be your time.
Okay. What about anything other than the document control functionality?
So Core has over 30 different applications that we call internally auto forms.
Okay.
And they're all specifically created for a certain reason, applying to the standard or different standards that a customer might get certified to.
Okay. So going back, looking at the problems in different standards, we've determined 30 different things that we're specifically applying to. I'm sure there's more, but as far as applications, we've built out 30 to deal with some of those things that we determined as problems earlier.
That's right. So it kind of helps with different business and process needs. So that doesn't mean every customer needs to use every single one of our applications that we have to offer.
Okay.
They can pick and choose which they find most important, what's going to help them and make their lives easier, basically.
Well, with that, what are some of your favorites, Anne?
Some of my favorites.
Yeah.
Well, we have the objective and KPI tracking form.
Okay.
So this one is fairly new, but it is very simple. We developed it essentially to move KPIs from one or many Excel spreadsheets to one place. So this form helps track associated key processes, individual measurements, no matter when it needs to be reported. So say daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, or even yearly. So this auto form can help see trends, whether the raw data is kept in the core compliance platform or a different software program.
Okay.
So it ties nicely into the measurement plan and the management review meeting agenda, because that's where you need to review that information.
That's a good idea. And it seems like, a lot of times when you're putting things on a spreadsheet in Excel, you have to determine and build your own formulas out.
That's right.
This, you just plug in the data and Core does all the back end for you.
Or if you know pivot tables or, anything crazy advanced in Excel. So with the KPI auto form, there are ways within the core platform, if you keep your data in there, that you can create charts and then put the charts on your dashboard. So that way you can see all that information in a visual format as well.
Oh, that's great. So if you have somebody who's a manager, they don't need to get into the details, but they want to see some specific data, they can.
That's
through
right.
Their dashboards and their that's really cool. That's cool.
And without having to know what pivot tables are.
Because I don't. What other ones do you like?
Another one that I like and a lot of customers rave about is the design and development auto form. For organizations that have design and development, not everyone does, we offer the design plan and schedule form. So that tracks all of the related requirements pertaining to the ISO standard through the project initiation all the way through to release.
Wow, that's great.
So there's checklists provided to identify inputs and outputs. Meeting and action items are included and can be created automatically.
Okay.
Those are actually other applications in our system as well. So they can be linked to each other. So you have full traceability.
So it's almost like you can really lay out your processes. You can probably use something as a template to say, okay, this is how we usually do our design, and then build it as you need to specificity-wise for the new project.
Correct. And so everything is in that one spot, in that one record, and you can do it the same time every time.
That's great. That really helps with processes. Anything else that you really like?
Of course. There's plenty.
Well, we got 30 of them, so you have to like more than 2.
That's right. So another one we have is the customer feedback form, which we also have a customer survey and feedback form, which is a little bit different.
Okay.
Depending on what the customer needs are. Whether it's solicited from the customer or not, all businesses receive customer feedback. It needs to be collected, but it can be done in person, over the phone, email, or even a chat system. And with these 2 forms, an organization can be collecting feedback and being able to report on that, see trends. They're very simple and basic.
Well, they can certainly be used in the management review, too, to see where you're at with your customer, what you need to do.
That's right. So you can see who's sending it in. Is it positive or negative feedback? Do they need to take follow-up actions and address something?
That's great.
The customer survey and feedback form, where I said it was slightly different, that offers a public web page that you can send to your customer to have them fill out 3 questions and put their comments. And that way you get basically like an NPS score of feedback. So that way you can see numbers wise where you're at with customer satisfaction.
That's great. How about give us one more of your favorites?
Sure. One more is our tool calibration set. This, again, is not going to be something that impacts every customer because not every customer has tools.
Right. If you're a manufacturing company, you're going to have tools.
That's right. So you need to, according to the standard, make sure you have calibrations up to date, do preventive maintenance on that equipment, and Core has those applications to be able to track that information.
That's great.
So part of that also, similar to document control system, where it gives you a reminder of when to review, when things will expire. We do the same for these applications. Specific to each tool or piece of equipment, the user will get a reminder email when things are coming due.
So it can also tell you what you need to make sure is calibrated. And if you're manufacturing, you could have thousands of tools, and not everybody knows how to calibrate each one. So if you can keep that within a record, say, hey, this is due, this is how you do it.
That's right. You keep all that information together, the instructions on how to do it, what you need to look for, or whether or not you're going to send it out externally to get calibrated, because there are organizations that do that as well.
Wow. Well, I can certainly see we definitely have tried to cover a lot of different things. Did you have anything you wanted to add, Brian?
Yeah, I did actually. One of the hidden gems of Core is the notifications and workflows that go along with all this stuff that Ann mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
You can store your data anywhere these days. Most organizations have an Office 365 or SharePoint site set up. Can you put your data in Excel, or can you put your data in Office 365 forms? You can do that, but you don't get the flexibility and the understanding of your workflows and how your business works that Core offers you. It helps you stay on top of these processes. It's not just a data management tool.
Yeah, and it doesn't just send you a reminder, hey, you have calibrations due. What were they? How do we do them? Who did them last time? All that kind of stuff, which Core will let you know.
Yeah, you get that high-level overview without doing all the manual work to maintain those logs and seeing trends.
Well, these are a lot of great features. And to summarize, when developing software as a service from a high level, define the problems, determine ways to fix those problems, and then determine the applications that you can develop to address all the problems and the myriad of intricacies each may have.
That's right.
All right. Well, that is a great start. Now, Ann, a couple other things. Once these applications develop, how do we go about refining them?
Well, our applications are constantly being refined. Whether you see that or not. We get feedback from our own team members, mostly our consultants or our customer support team.
Okay.
But we also get feedback from our customers, our external users, through surveys, conducting customer interviews, and shadowing customer engagements. So getting the different perspectives helps us in understanding how users actually use the platform and how something could be improved to make their lives simpler.
And those are really good points because many times there are a variety of customers, if you will, that use the software application. And getting inputs from as many points of view as you can is a great way to determine changes and upgrades that might be needed.
Yeah, it really is. You want to make sure that you're giving your customers what they actually need to solve their problems. You know, as the product manager, I'm regularly meeting with customer support to analyze any trends from support tickets. If customers are constantly asking for help on a specific feature or functionality, it may be worth brainstorming a different solution for that problem. What's really been eye-opening for me is shadowing our customer engagements through our consulting team. Whether it's with a consultant or with the support team, there's different levels of experience either using different softwares or just in their job roles.
And probably different levels of external users. So you might have somebody that's been in core for 20 years, and then the person that's first coming in going, how do I do this? So that really gives you a great point of view or great points of view to be able to say, okay, as a new user, this might be a struggle. As a really advanced user, they kind of want a feature that maybe, or an adjustment to a feature that can help them.
Yeah, that is the balance of building software, is new versus experienced, and just trying to meld those two together. In the end, we just want to help our customers and provide them the best tools available.
This ends part one of our discussion with Ann Siebert and Brian Reich on software as a service and our very own core compliance platform. Tune in next week when we continue this conversation and dive deeper into the different forms of customers our software supports, as well as how to refine your software and when and how to develop future software features. We'll also be discussing more about the core compliance platform and how cybersecurity is an important aspect of software. If you would like to learn more about how we here at Core Business Solutions can help you, or perhaps you wish to learn more about the core compliance platform, email us at info@thecoresolution.com or visit our website at www.thecoresolution.com. And finally, if you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to the Quality Hub on your favorite podcast platform. That way, you won't miss next week's podcast when it drops. Thanks for listening, and have a great day.